Yeah.
Okay.
This is a fascinating little gadget. It allows us to ask you unconscious questions without your conscious necessarily being aware of it. Now, just close your eyes. 1, 2, slipping deeper. And as I talk to you now, is there a part that wishes to tell me something that is important?
I gave them the consent to put me under hypnosis because I had nothing to hide.
Tell me now.
Little did I know of the problem of using hypnosis, I never would have agreed to it, but I didn't know that.
Let me ask you, recognize any faces?
Sure fuck do.
What do you think?
Absolutely.
How do you mean?
Fucked her,
Yeah?
killed her.
Yeah?
Anything else you'd like to know?
What can you tell me about Karen Manick and Diane Wilder?
The bodies of Karen Mandick and Diane Wilder were found splayed in the back seat of Miss Mandick's car. The young women were strangled and the car was abandoned.
You don't fucking understand.
The man suspected of killing the two women, 27-year-old Kenneth Bianchi, is also a suspect in several other disappearances of young women,
I don't want to play no more.
and may indeed be the infamous Hillside Strangler.
Ken is gonna have to come out. Come out, Ken. Come out, Ken. Ken. Ken?
Yeah.
You here?
Down here. Thank you, Doctor. You have a safe trip now.
You too.
Okay.
What happened in Bellingham after my arrest was the start of everything that has transpired since then.
It was at the end of this cul-de-sac near a housing development in South Bellingham where Karen Mandick's car was found. The two women, strangled, were stuffed in the back area of the car.
The break in the Hillside Strangler case came in an unusual place, a double murder that occurred in Washington State in 1979, a full year after the murders had ceased in Los Angeles.
Both of the young women were clothed, and they were just sort of askew in the car. You could see deep ligature wounds on their necks from strangulation.
Police are still on the scene, investigating today, searching specifically for car keys or anything else they might find to help them in the investigation.
It was a Saturday morning, as I recall. We were looking at the newspaper in bed, and we opened it and saw that these two women had been killed. I was Diane Wilder's professor. I knew Diane really well. She was a really easy person to be around, and interesting and curious. And Diane was really interested in the Middle East. We were gathering students together for a trip to Israel in the spring. You know, one of the things that we talked about the day she died was how she was raising money to be able to go. And she had the opportunity to earn money house sitting with her roommate, Karen.
Karen and I, we were both juniors at Western. We were both 21 years old. We were taking an accounting class together. I mean, we just hit it off right away. So we started dating. She had a magnetic personality that just drew people to her. You know, people wanted to be around her. She made you feel good about yourself. She was funny. She was very witty, very smart. Karen and I, we were just having kind of a pause in our relationship. We decided we needed to talk. We kind of ironed everything out, and I thought things were back on again. So I was pretty happy, but it was that night that she was murdered.
The two women attended Western Washington University. The first sign of their disappearance came late Thursday when Karen Mandic did not return to the local Fred Meyer from her dinner break.
Karen Mandic had met Ken Bianchi because he was working security at Fred Meyer's. And then he got an offer at Whatcom Security that made him leader of a number of employees there.
I knew Karen working at Fred Meyer. I was her supervisor. And Ken Bianchi was security. Ken was different. He had a creepy vibe. His favorite little habit was coming up behind you and put his arm around your neck and then tell us that is what he had been taught in the Army. Ken bragged openly about having killed people in the Vietnam War and just different stories he would tell. We knew they weren't true. When Karen came to work that evening, she had asked to talk to me about taking an extra hour on her break. I asked her why she needed it, and Karen said, I was told not to tell anybody.
The girl reported missing to us was Karen Mandic. Her boyfriend told us that she had received a job house sitting. Security agencies here in the city of Bellingham will have people come to the home and stay in the home for a period of time, like to an hour, while they put in security alarm system.
The police discovered that Kenneth Bianchi had arranged a house-sitting job at this home, 334 Bayside, with Karen Mandic. Karen wanted to bring her roommate, Diane Wilder, with her. Bayside is a real nice area in Bellingham. Kenneth Bianchi had told Karen the home had a great deal of money in it. And so he told her not to tell anyone. But Karen did tell Bill Bryant and told Steve Hardwick, two young men that she had been dating.
I didn't know that Ken was involved, but Karen was really nervous. Wherever she had to be, it had to be 7 o'clock sharp. I said, you have to be back by 9 o'clock, no later than 9 o'clock. Later on, when she didn't show up, bells went off. Karen would never have left me in the lurch. She would have called. I made a phone call to a number that she had left, which happened to be Steve, her boyfriend at the time.
Steve Hardwick indicated she was first missing. He went to the address at Bayside, but then he called the Bellingham Police Department. He spoke to two sergeants.
Bellingham Police.
And they became extremely concerned about it.
When I had found out that Karen had not returned home, got the key and went to the girl's house, and I was just looking for anything that might shed light on where they might be. And I found this note by the phone from Diane to Karen. It said, Ken B called. I actually called the number and I asked him if he knew where Karen was. He finally did admit that he knew Karen, but wouldn't talk about the job at all. The conversation ended when he said, well, I can understand why you'd be concerned about her. She was a very nice girl. It really didn't hit me when he said it, but as soon as I hung up the phone, I go, he said was. because he knew she was dead at that time.
Sergeants contacted Ken Bianchi and had him come in to talk to them. Bianchi indicated that he didn't know Karen Mandic and he hadn't arranged any job. We knew that was a lie. They also found on the keys that he had, there was a key to 334 Bayside. I'd gotten a search warrant on Ken Bianchi's house. We found stolen equipment from Fred Myers when he's working as a security guard there. He stole chainsaws and a number of items. So I initially charged him with that as a holding charge.
Charging the suspect with possession of stolen property this afternoon buys authorities some time to complete their investigation, allowing them to build what they feel will be a strong case against Bianchi.
You get many phone calls on your off time when you've got a case of this magnitude. There was Detective Louis Danoff, and he explained that he had gotten a phone call from Bellingham, Washington, from a detective. They wanted a background check.
Our investigator said, "Have you ever heard about the Hillside Strangler?" He said no, that he hadn't. He said, "I think you've got something there awfully close to what we've been working on."
The Hillside Strangler task force immediately came up here.
Met with the detectives, and we saw the ligature marks on the throat. I thought, hey, we've got a good suspect here.
We're talking about 2 young girls who've been killed. The strangulations in Los Angeles are young girls, and it's a multiple murder.
In Bellingham, Washington, at 334 Bayside, some of the forensic evidence that they did find were pubic hairs related to Kenneth Bianchi.
The FBI crime lab is processing a good deal of evidence against the former private security guard and are notifying Bellingham authorities on every development.
When the FBI came back and we had matched up hairs connected to Ken Bianchi, I thought we had an incredibly strong case. It's all circumstantial evidence, but you're adding all of these things up with the hairs and the fibers. We had him lying about knowing Karen Mandic. Why would you lie about that? The proximity, the fact that we had him in possession of the key to the house and he lied about that, all of these things just show conclusively he is the guy that did these crimes.
Bellingham police came to the apartment and told me, and I was devastated. And I knew it was him. I was filled with rage. I wanted to kill him.
I was so angry at the violence and the needlessness and the loss. It was horrible because you know somebody as this vibrant, smart, curious woman whose life has been cut short in a heinous act.
Bianchi set up the murders days in advance, lured his victims to a South Bellingham home under the guise of house sitting, bound, gagged, and raped the two co-eds, finally strangling them with a piece of cord.
What do we really have to suffer with in our society with a person that is this miserable and this dangerous? So I charged him with 2 counts of first-degree murder. And I decided to file a notice of death penalty, and I did that.
Kenneth Bianchi is being held in isolation here at the Whatcom County Jail. The 27-year-old former security guard is charged with the slayings of 2 Western Washington co-eds. Bianchi is also accused in several of the so-called Los Angeles Hillside Stranglers.
When I was arrested, I really felt that this was a terrible mistake. I knew I hadn't done anything, but I also knew that this was very serious. And I glanced over and saw the booking sheet. It said something like 2 counts of homicide. my heart sank because I thought, what the hell is going on here?
Well, hi, David.
Ken, great to see you.
Great to see you, too.
I was introduced to Ken Bianchi through the world of murderabilia serial killer art. I was working with a man, and I was at his home, and he said, "Oh, that art's by Ken Bianchi, the Hillside Strangler." He facilitated the introduction. What's your memories of when we first started communicating?
It's been almost 9 years, and it's been the most incredible thing that's ever happened to me, short of my son being born.
Ken Bianchi started writing me a lot of letters that said, I did not do these murders. For the first few years, I didn't believe him. I said, show me the documents, show me what evidence you have that supports any of your claims. And he started sending me extraordinary material that never hit the public eye. I was shocked and appalled. So I made a decision that I was going to look into the Hillside Strangler case. When I looked into the case, I was questioning the police evidence. And what I saw here was a tunnel vision emerging on Ken Bianchi. The interest of the Los Angeles police that Ken Bianchi was their man superpowered the Bellingham cops' investigation to make sure that this rap would stick on Ken Bianchi. So, Ken, I'm just here in London and I'm packing to go over to the States to walk the crime scenes. I decided that I had to understand the Bellingham cases, what happened on this night of January 11, 1979.
You questioned everything. You were able to find out the actual truth yourself, and the rest is our little history. It's been a long road.
Pleased to meet you.
Thank you. Mr. Bianchi, we'd like to begin with your childhood and what you remember about life as a child.
My life as a child was pretty nice. It was a home that I can look back on my childhood and be very happy and very proud, you know, of my parents.
Ken was born in Rochester, New York, of a single mother who had him put out for adoption almost immediately. Shortly after, a married Italian woman, Frances, brought him up as her own. He was close to both his mother and his father. But at the age of 12, he'd suffered a sudden death of his father.
Ken struggled in his 20s. He couldn't find his way. He never graduated college. All the avenues available to him in Rochester were beginning to dry up.
And Ken Bianchi came to Los Angeles trying to reinvent himself and to make a new start. And he moved in with his cousin Angelo Bueno.
And it wasn't until I arrived in Los Angeles that I fell in love. And that was Kelly.
In May of 1978, Ken followed his girlfriend, Kelly Boyd, and their newborn child to Bellingham, Washington. She had become pregnant and she had had a new baby during those murders in Los Angeles. Ken had arrived at Bellingham to renew this relationship.
The Ken I knew couldn't have ever hurt anybody or killed anybody. He was pretty thoughtful and real helpful with the baby, and even around the house he was real helpful. He just wasn't the kind of person that could have killed somebody.
So long ago. It was in the newspaper about Ken being arrested, and I don't know, it was just unbelievable. He was too nice for that. My friend Kathy and I met him not very long after we moved to Bellingham. I needed a job really bad.
My girlfriend and I went down to the security office here and applied for our job. And he was the first thing that we saw walk around the corner for our interview. We both went, wow, look at that hunk.
Yeah, we thought, what kind of nice guy is this? Very thoughtful and kind and, you know, just an all-around good guy. I wrote Ken a letter in jail saying, you know, we can't believe it, you know, is there something we can help you do or whatever? And we started writing back and forth to each other.
He seemed interested in what I was doing with myself. I believed anything he said to me, and he told me he was innocent. He once said that he wished it would be like a Perry Mason movie, where in the end, someone would stand up and say they were with him in the night of question.
Then he called and he said he needed somebody to write him an alibi for that night. And you know, when you're 21, I'm sorry, I was very naive.
I wrote to him saying where we were, what I was wearing, and all these things. And after I sent it to him, a couple days later, I decided, I can't do this. This is all wrong.
And I told him to get rid of the letter because there's just no way that I was gonna put myself in that situation. Why would I have to lie to somebody that didn't do it? I did go visit Ken in jail. I think I needed that for just in my own mind to have closure that he really was a guilty party. He put his hand up to the window to say goodbye, and I went, those hands murdered all these girls.
Ken Bianchi asking Angie Kennenberg for an alibi letter was quite extraordinary. In fact, this was one of the first things I questioned Ken about. And quite frankly, he admitted it. He was desperate for an alibi.
And I think I finally found one. The police believe Karen and Diane were murdered between 7 and 9 p.m. And today I'm going to prove that Ken couldn't have been the one who killed them.
Fred Meyer is hugely significant to this story. This is the location where the clock starts ticking for Karen Mandig. This is where she is last seen alive.
According to Karen's manager, she left Fred Meyer's about 5 minutes after 7 p.m.
Okay, I'm going to start the clock on the trip. 7:05 leaves Fred Meyer. Karen would have picked up Diane here at 12:46. Ellis.
That would have been just a 1-minute drive.
Coming up in Willow Court, this road was exactly as it is, and the car came to sit at about here. Getting them to Willow Court at about 7:20. 2 minutes later, Ken Bianchi's pickup truck enters to take the girls away. We want to go from this location to where Ken Bianchi is supposedly taking them. And we're just pulling up. And it's taken us 4 minutes to get here. 7:27. This is 334 Bayside. The murder house. The most significant address in this case and the key to the Hillside Strangler case.
It takes about 4 minutes to strangle a person to death, which would mean Ken would have had to take at least 8 minutes to murder Karen Mandig and Diane Wilder.
Now, this is extraordinary. Ken Bianchi's alibi kicks in at 7:39.
That's when his co-workers spotted him at Watcom Security Agency, and that's about 10 minutes from the house on Bayside.
And these timings say to me, this couldn't be done. And it means for me, the actual murder investigation has to be started from scratch because the real murderer is still out there and he's been able to get away with it. And this journey that I've taken today makes me more determined even to find who it is.
You have a prepaid call from
Ken.
an inmate at Washington State Penitentiary.
Yeah, hi, we're continuing here in Bellingham. Ken, we filmed every step of the timings, the journey between the office for Watcom Security and the house at 334 Bayside. And I found that you were travelling and you were seen by a witness at the moment that those women were claimed to being murdered. That sighting alone means that you would have had to have left those two women alive.
I mean, I really, yeah, even, I mean, you know, I waited.
You have 1 minute left.
I waited 50 years for this. I feel somewhat vindicated, you know. I don't know if my lawyer had done that back then, I wouldn't be in this situation, you know. But nobody's bothered. You're the first. I want to thank you very much for doing that. That's so important. I feel vindicated.
Ken, I'm shocked that this wasn't, these investigations weren't done for you at the time. Any attorney should have timed these to the second in your defense of presumed innocence.
My lawyer did, he didn't care. He didn't give a shit. He would have seen what I was going through. You know. Oh, God.
Ken, again, it's taken me years to actually believe anything that Ken Bianchi says because I've been influenced by what I've read, by the professionals in this case. I trusted their word that this was a man who was a liar and a psychopath. But this man had no presumption of innocence, not even from the defense attorney, who did everything he could to get a confession and a guilty verdict, the job of the prosecutor done by the defense attorney. Being here in Bellingham has raised even more questions.
I worked extensively to get the information from Kenneth Bianchi about January 11th, 1979, to know exactly what he was doing. An alibi that Ken could provide to me would exclude him from the possibility of maybe being one of the Hillside Stranglers. So it was very important for me to get the details of that night in question. Dispatcher Vicki Jackson at Watcom Security testified that Ken had been in the office on the night in question. The problem was that she didn't know the time that Ken was there. She was unsure whether it could have been 8:10, 8:20, and doesn't really matter because the Watcom security office was not that far from the murder scene. So the suspect could have clocked in to work, gone to the crime scene, and still fit within the 2-hour time frame that the police were seeking to find. So the only person who really answered for Ken that night was Ken himself. But Ken is very good at confusing the truth to almost any aspect of his life.
I met Ken Bianchi in September of '77. I was 18. I worked at a title company in Los Angeles, and this handsome guy came in one day and just kind of swept me off my feet. He was always dressed very nice, always in a suit and tie or sport coat. He was super smart. He had diplomas on the wall for psychology. So I thought Ken was going to go far in life. The first time I think we said I love you was probably after dating 2 months. I was just overwhelmed. I was falling hard for him. I was in love for sure. I thought this is going to be a serious relationship. He never had any kind of meanness or aggressiveness or anything bad towards me. But
I just kind of felt him pulling away a little and getting a little colder and more distant. We broke up around February of 1978, and then he was gone. While we were dating, I didn't realize all those girls were being killed. I didn't know anything about any other women or children or anything like that. And I didn't hear anything from him or about him until the killings in Washington. It scared me to death. Because when we were dating, some of the places I was at with Ken were where they had found victims. So I became suspicious that I was being used as a cover-up. I was a good alibi.
During last month's court appearance, Bianchi pleaded not guilty to charges that he killed Diane Weiler and Karen Mandic last January 11.
After I asked for the death penalty, Ken Bianchi's attorney felt Bianchi should plead not guilty by reason of insanity.
He seemed pretty normal, but there were some things that didn't fit. He indicated he didn't know anything about the homicides, and yet he gave a series of increasingly incredible explanations of what he had been doing on the night of the murders.
My lawyer and I just couldn't see eye to eye because I knew what I had done, and I hadn't killed any girl. With all these killings, I don't remember anything.
Ken Bianchi was having constant arguments with his defense attorney, Dean Brett. Dean Brett was telling the court that he couldn't communicate with his own client because he was a pathological liar. Dean Brett's belief that the lies he was telling were the lie that he was innocent. And so he wants his client to plead not guilty by reason of insanity.
Mark. Okay, so not guilty by reason of insanity. That means that if you were not aware what you were doing at the time of the murder, or if you were not aware of right from wrong at the time of the murder, then legally that meant that you were insane. But in felony cases, not guilty by reason of insanity is very rare. So it's clear to me that there was a bit of desperation to prove Kenneth Bianchi was potentially insane, to stop him from being put to death.
And we're gonna be tape record, just a regular audio recording. And we also have some videotape here, which we may use later.
I can't tell you, I'm terrified about this whole thing.
And if you agree to it.
No, I don't mind.
Is the camera going?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Dr. Ralph B. Allison.
I'm Dr. John Watkins.
I'm Dr. Donald Lundy. I'm a psychiatrist from Davis, California, and I was asked by Judge Kurtz to examine Ken Bianchi to advise the judge in this particular incident.
The defense attorney had wanted to have 6 psychiatrists appointed to examine him, 2 for the defense, 2 for the court, independent witnesses, and 2 for the state.
The only way to be fair, Dr. Lundy, is for me to come into this thing fair for me, fair for you, and fair to Dean, who's representing me. My life is at stake. A lot of things are really important. The thing for me is to be in a good frame of mind.
Well, you tell me in your own words, and in terms of your thinking, your memory of events that happened in January 1979 in Bellingham, Washington.
Wish I could help you. It's real foggy. I don't remember it.
It is not unusual, in my experience, for people who have been charged with murder, who have killed people, to have a loss of memory for various events for a period of time after they're arrested.
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
People have different theories about how memory works, but we know that memory is really tricky in general. People who have traumas will dissociate. Dissociation is a real thing. It happens when you go through major trauma, and you will sometimes lose your memory. So back in the 70s and 80s, people were hypnotizing their clients to basically remember.
I told my lawyer from the very first time I met him and stuff that I'm innocent. I had nothing to do with these murders. But he said that, you know, it's really stacking up against you and it really looks like you're guilty. And so they thought that hypnosis was the way to get to the truth. We believe, you believe that you're innocent, but we believe you just don't remember that you committed the crimes.
Back in the 70s, they were using hypnosis for all kinds of things. So they were using it for witness testimony. Like, okay, so we gotta maybe put you under and then maybe you'll remember some items like the color of the car or the person's hair.
The Los Angeles Police Department is using a new tool to fight crime.
The investigators report that without the use of investigative hypnosis, they would not have been able to obtain the evidence that allowed them to ultimately solve the case.
So for Kenneth Bianchi, I believe the defense attorneys were like, maybe we can hypnotize him and find out what happened.
I wish I had been strong enough to tell my lawyer, hell no, to the hypnosis, but the death penalty was looming over the whole thing. I was just trying to survive.
It's April 18th, I think. Dr. Allison, Ken Bianchi, the jail in Bellingham, Whatcom County it is. Okay, Ken. What I want you to do is think of this index finger being hooked up to your unconscious mind, and I want you to just allow that finger to raise if I mention an age at which something important happened that is connected to the reason why you're in jail now. So I'll start right off with birth, 1 year, 2, 8, 9. I'd like you to be the 9-year-old Ken. Where are you living now?
Big greenhouse.
In recent days, what's been going on, Ken?
My mom hits me a lot.
Your mom hits you? How does that affect you, Ken?
I just want to die.
Do you ever hide inside your own head?
Sometimes, just to get away.
Anybody else here to talk to?
My friend.
Who's that?
Stevie.
How'd you happen to meet him?
I ran away once. Hid under my bed. Mommy was hitting me so bad. I was crying so hard. And all of a sudden, he was there. Said hi to me. Told me I was his friend.
Does Stevie have a home, a house where he lives? Where?
Stevie lives with me.
Did he suggest anything that you might do?
He told me not to take it. He told me when she hits me, I should hit her back.
When I looked at Ken's medical records, one of the things that I found was not only suggestion of abuse, but a lot of neglect. Now, this is important because every serial killer I've ever studied, their home lives are incredibly traumatic. There's violence, neglect, addiction, humiliation, deception, and often all of the above. All the doctors from everything that I've gone through bring up the mother.
That is Kenneth. He was like that since childhood. You catch him doing something, ask him why he did it, he'll tell you, I didn't do it. And he would deny everything. That at the end, you felt like you were the crazy one and not him. But that's Kenneth. He is a smooth liar.
And serial killers' mothers, what we know is they're either physically dominant, emotionally incestuous, or very inconsistent in their care. In the medical records, there was one moment where a doctor was writing about how he was brought into the hospital with his feet caked with dirt. And it was clear to the doctors that he had not been bathed at all. And when they asked his mother about it, she said, well, I take him to the YMCA once a week and I let him swim in the pool, and that's how he bathes.
I knew a fair amount about kind of mother she had been at that age, and it puzzled me, why you would characterize her as this wonderful person.
I don't know why.
It just, they made presumptions. It was all the Freudian stuff, because it was all, mom's the problem, mom's the reason why you are where you are, mom's the reason why you did what we believe you did. They had created this really wrong idea of who she was. It was really a loving family.
Now I want to talk to Stevie. I want to talk to Stevie. The Stevie that we've been talking about. Well,
Hey there.
what's your name?
Steve?
What's your last name?
What business is it of yours?
So Steve appears.
How old are you, Steve?
What, are you writing a fucking book?
No. I'm writing a report for the judge. He's asked me to talk to you.
And Steve was a character, unlike Ken, who was really aggressive and rude and actually didn't like Ken.
Fuck him, his mother, too.
Pretty
Fucking cunt.
Quite a bitch, wasn't she?
She was a fucking cunt. He still puts up with her shit. That fucking asshole. I was doing fine, Now I can't even fucking come out when I wanted to. I don't want to play no more.
I thought, my goodness, this is evidence of a multiple personality.
Dr. Allison took this to mean, whoa, proof, big time. Definitely has multiple personality disorder. So it's possible that Kenneth's attorney, Dean Brett, is thinking to himself, maybe we can use this as the defense, because if Ken did not know what he was doing, and he couldn't know right from wrong, then technically, he's insane.
He believed that he would be acquitted by reason of insanity. That concerned me a great deal because that meant he would be out on the streets if he could just convince a number of psychiatrists that he was cured of his problem, which I don't think he could easily do.
And so Dr. Watkins' objective now seems to be to get Steve to remember the crimes.
Steve, let me ask you. Recognize any faces?
Sure fuck do.
What do you think?
Absolutely.
How do you mean?
Where'd you get this? This is alright, man.
Came out of a magazine.
Hey, far fucking out.
Well, I got out of a magazine. I just wanted to see whether you recognized anything in there.
Fucked her.
Yeah.
Killed her.
Yeah.
She had a shaved pussy. I like shaved pussy.
Yeah.
This kind.
Oh, one that says Washington there.
First one.
First one.
That's right.
You don't have to take credit for any of them. You don't want to.
Hey, man, it doesn't bother me any. Killing abroad doesn't make any difference to me. Killing any fucking buddy doesn't make any difference.
Maybe you didn't kill any of those. I don't know.
Oh, hey, no, wrong, man. Hey, I killed a couple of these.
Well, which one? She said you did, right? I don't know.
I killed her. Angelo killed her.
They mean the Wagner when Angelo killed.
This broad I killed. These two Angelo killed.
When Kenneth Bianchi was hypnotized, that's when he confessed. And he implicates his cousin, Angelo.
So who's Angelo?
Oh, it's some turkey he knows. His cousin.
His cousin?
Yeah.
The DA's office of Bellingham, they were sending us videotapes of these sessions.
Bianchi was confessing to committing the murders, along with Angelo Bono. It's a big deal. Now we had a crime partner, and we knew we were looking for two people.
He's my kind of man.
Okay.
There should be more people in the world like Angelo.
Angelo's shop was in Glendale, and Ken spent a lot of time with Angelo at that body shop. Angelo did a lot of movie stars' cars, just old-time actors and actresses. Ken really looked up to Angelo. They were more like brothers and cousins. Angelo was very much a gentleman and a charmer, like Ken was to me.
The police came to me at the Red Vest where Cindy and I worked and showed me some mug shots and asked me if I knew any of the guys. And I said, yeah, this one here. And it was Angelo Bono. And I said, he comes in here all the time. And Angelo usually sat at the counter. He always used to sit with his head down. But you could tell he had his antenna up. He was always trying to listen to our conversations.
I was thinking, how many times have I sat talking to him? At one point, he did say, be careful out there, there's nuts running around. And I didn't realize he was one of them.
During the time that we're investigating these murders, my theory became there could be two people.
We thought Bono was the second guy. And we had LAPD put a 24-hour surveillance on him.
We did a search warrant on his residence, put him in a hotel for a couple of days, sprayed his interior with a chemical to bring out fingerprints.
It was oddly clean. When we left, I said, boy, that place is spotless.
What we also have to consider is what was not found at the time is kind of unusual in that you would expect in a house where people live that there would be some fingerprints found on the walls someplace, but there were none found anywhere.
My personal feeling right there, we should hook him up and book him, but we didn't have enough evidence, just Bianchi's confession.
Anything else you'd like to know?
I don't know. Anything else you want to tell me?
So Steve was making confessions, but Ken was still claiming that he's innocent.
I really just find it so hard to believe.
Then there came a point where the doctors were hoping to integrate Ken with Steve, because that's the goal, ultimately. If you've got MPD back in the day, if that's what you had, the whole idea is integrating these personalities. So Ken starts to remember that he's responsible for these crimes.
Close your eyes, call his name, and say, I've got a question for you, and I want to talk to you. And just keep repeating that phrase until you hear him answer. Then start calling his name. Get his attention.
Steve, I have a question I want to ask you. You keep saying I killed those girls. I didn't. You did. You just don't understand, you know, what happens to me is going to happen to you. Look, I'm going to talk more about it later. I don't want to talk about it right now. You made me too upset. Bye, Steve. Bye, Steve. You can deny yourself that something's true for just so long. You know. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde.
There was at least one point where he had a major change, where one night a lot of awareness of the crime suddenly came into his mind. He called for his lawyer, they had a meeting, and from then on, he had no doubt he had done the crime.
Dean Brett, my lawyer, came to the jail. He met me in the nurse's office where we had the hypnosis sessions with Watkins. He wanted to know what was happening, and I told him I started having these horrible memories that scared me, that really made me sad. And he hugged me, And he said, "Welcome back to the human race." And he stayed with me for a couple hours. And then I went back to my cell.
What can you tell me about Karen Manick and Diana Wilder? Once you're in the house, then
they were shown around and shown downstairs, and once downstairs is when it started. The gun pulled on them. They were told to lie face down. They were tied up and then they were separated, and then individually, one by one, they were untied and undressed and sex with them, and then they were both dressed again and then killed separately. I believe Diane Wilder was first and Karen Manick was second. And then they were carried up and put in the back of the car, and the car drove to the cul-de-sac.
Dr. Lundy elicited all of the details from Bianchi on how he killed Karen Manick and Diane Wilder, how he lured these young women, how he incapacitated them, and how he raped and killed them. He got all of the details from him.
There were a lot of differences from the Los Angeles things. There really weren't that many similarities.
So, okay, the first name we have here is Washington.
She was a prostitute from Los Angeles. She was picked up by Angelo. We used a police officer ruse. Angelo had sex with her first, and then took her to a spot where I had been dropped off by a gas station. He pulled up, and I walked up to the car, and she and I ended up in the back seat. I had sex with her. Then after that, while driving on the freeway, she was strangled on the floor of the car. Once this was done, her body was taken over by Forest Lawn and Forest Lawn Drive and dropped there. This is the only one that was done outside of Angelo's house.
Mm-hmm.
The Yolanda Washington case was not on my radar. We knew about it, but it wasn't until Bianchi started talking to Bellingham that case was made part of the 10 murders in Los Angeles County.
Okay. The next name I have is Miller.
Miller. She was picked up over walking on Sunset Boulevard. The police ruse was used again. Angela had sex with her. I had had regular intercourse with her.
King?
Jane King was waiting for a bus. She was offered a ride and she was a little hesitant. She was told that we were police officers and she felt very confident, and off we went.
Wagner?
She was neither bound nor blindfolded.
Caston?
Caston. We both had sex with her on the floor of the spare bedroom, not on the bed. Then she was killed afterwards.
Weckler?
Oh God, do I have to? She was brought out to the kitchen and put on the floor, and her head was covered with a bag, and the pipe from the newly installed stove, which wasn't fully installed yet, was disconnected, put into the bag, and then turned on.
Martin?
She caught on that we weren't who we said we were. She started to head out the door, and Angela pulled her back and threw her down, and she was really just wanted out.
Cindy Hudspeth?
She was in the trunk of the car. I was taken to Angela's Crest. Got behind the car and pushed it off.
Johnson and Spid. Remember their ages? I don't know, but like 14, 13?
Young. 14 or 13, something like that.
They were the youngest ones.
Yeah. When I think back about it, it's just, I can't fathom. One girl was killed, and when she was dead, her body was put aside, and the other girl was brought in blindfolded, asking for her girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And she was told that she would be seeing her girlfriend pretty soon.
I understand everything I said was very heartbreaking, very hard to listen to, but my confessions were false confessions.